Get on your knees and scrub that coffee off the carpet before the executives arrive, or you're fired. The regional director barked, tossing a damp rag at the woman in the frayed, oversized sweater. Sloane did not flinch, nor did she mention the solid black titanium keycard buried at the bottom of her scuffed canvas tote bag, the only keycard that could authorize the $50 million merger happening in that very room. Instead, she slowly picked up the rag, her mind already calculating exactly how many minutes this arrogant man had left before his entire career turned to ash. The 40th floor of Apex Solutions was a masterpiece of glass, steel, and forced intimidation. Every surface gleamed, reflecting the skyline of Manhattan, except for the small brown puddles seeping into the imported Persian rug outside the main boardroom. Sloane knelt beside it. Her boots were muddy, her oversized gray sweater held a slight tear at the shoulder, and her hair was tied up with a cheap plastic clip. She looked exactly like what everyone assumed she was, a disposable temporary intern who had stumbled and dropped a tray of macchiatos. Marcus Vance, the director of operations, loomed over her. He wore a bespoke navy suit that cost more than most people made in a month. His leather shoes tapped impatiently inches from Sloane's fingers. "I asked for perfection today." Marcus hissed, his voice low enough to avoid echoing, but sharp enough to cut. "The new CEO of the parent company is arriving in an hour to finalize the takeover. If they see this mess, I will personally make sure you never work in this city again." Sloane did not apologize. She dabbed the carpet with the rag, her face completely unreadable. Most people would crumble under Marcus's glare, but Sloane felt nothing but a cold, clinical curiosity. She watched how a man with a shred of power treated someone he believed had none. It was the most accurate personality test in the corporate world. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text message glowed on the screen. "The board is in position, awaiting your final signal." Sloane swiped the notification away. Marcus caught the movement and sneered. "Put the phone away. You are a temp. You do not check your messages on my time." He turned to a group of anxious executives hovering near the door. "Someone get her out of my sight before the real guests arrive." He walked away completely unaware that the woman on the floor had just memorized the security clearance badge dangling from his belt. Before Sloane could stand, a hand reached down. It belonged to a young man in a slightly ill-fitting suit, a junior assistant whose name tag read Ben. He looked terrified, darting his eyes down the hallway to make sure Marcus wasn't watching. "Here, let me help," Ben whispered, pulling a pack of heavy-duty wipes from his pocket. "Those rags won't lift the stain. You have to use the chemical solvent." He crouched beside her, scrubbing furiously. "You should go hide in the break room. Mr. Vance is on a warpath today. He's presenting a massive restructuring plan to the new owners to secure his spot as VP. If you cross his line of sight again, he'll terminate your agency contract." Sloane studied Ben. His hands were shaking slightly. "Why are you helping me?" she asked quietly. "He could fire you for this." "Because nobody deserves to be treated like dirt," Ben muttered, not looking up. "Not for a spilled coffee. We're all just trying to survive here." Sloane nodded slowly, committing his name to a very different kind of mental list. She stood up, brushing off her jeans. Through the glass walls of the boardroom, she could see Marcus booting up his laptop. The title slide of his presentation was projected onto the massive screen. Sloane's eyes narrowed. There was a specific alphanumeric code watermarked in the bottom corner of that title slide, a code that was strictly classified. It meant Marcus hadn't written this presentation. He had stolen it from a highly confidential server. "I'm not going to the break room," Sloane replied, adjusting her worn sweater. "I'm going to watch the presentation." Ben stared at her, horrified. "Are you crazy? You can't go in there. That's a VIP-only meeting." "I know," Sloane murmured, stepping toward the glass doors. "That's exactly why I need a front-row seat." The atmosphere inside the boardroom was electric, with nervous ambition. 7 local executives sat around the mahogany table waiting for the parent company delegates. Marcus stood at the head, adjusting his cuffs, radiating unearned confidence. When the heavy glass door clicked open, Marcus froze. His perfectly rehearsed smile vanished. Sloane stood in the doorway, her canvas bag slung over one shoulder. She didn't look intimidated. She looked like a building inspector examining a structural defect. "What do you think you're doing?" Marcus snapped, striding toward her. Security was supposed to escort you out. I was told to assist with the meeting, Sloane answered evenly, her voice carrying across the silent room. Assist? Marcus let out a harsh laugh. Look at you. You look like you crawled out of a subway grate. This is a multi-million-dollar acquisition briefing. We don't need a ragged intern serving water. Get out. Sloane didn't move. She glanced at the screen behind him. Project Phoenix, she read aloud. An aggressive, cost-cutting initiative aimed at liquidating 3 subsidiary branches to inflate short-term profit margins. The room went dead silent. The local executives exchanged confused glances. Marcus's face flushed dark red. How do you know that title? Marcus demanded, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. It's on the screen, Sloane replied calmly. But that wasn't the whole truth. She knew the title because she had personally drafted that file 3 months ago, and she had buried a massive mathematical trap inside it to catch whoever was stupid enough to steal it. I also know your department is currently running a $1.2 million deficit, Mr. Vance. Marcus stepped entirely into her personal space. I don't know what garbage you've been reading, he threatened, but I am going to have you physically thrown onto the street. Sloane held her ground. She reached into her pocket, typing a single command into her phone blindly. The room's internal recording system quietly hummed to life. Call security, Marcus barked at the nearest manager. He turned back to Sloane, his eyes filled with pure contempt. You think because you overheard some office gossip you can walk in here and play corporate spy? I wrote Project Phoenix. It is my blueprint for the future of this company, and when the new CEO arrives, they will hand me the vice president title based on my genius. Sloane tilted her head. Your genius? She asked, her tone entirely neutral. You designed the logistics algorithm on slide 4. Every single word of it, Marcus bragged, puffing out his chest. He was performing now, ensuring the other executives saw his dominance. I spent 6 months crunching those numbers. It is foolproof. Something a minimum wage temp wouldn't understand. In the corner of the room, Ben stood frozen, holding a stack of printed agendas. He looked sick to his stomach. He knew Marcus hadn't written it. Everyone in the lower cubicles knew Marcus stole credit, but no one dared speak up. Sloane let the silence stretch. She was waiting for him to dig the hole just a few inches deeper. She glanced up at the small security camera in the corner of the room. A tiny green light was blinking. The entire conversation was now being live-streamed directly to a secure server in Chicago. If you wrote it, Sloane countered smoothly, then you know about the deliberate tax liability embedded in the 3rd phase, the one that constitutes corporate fraud. Marcus blinked. For a fraction of a second, genuine panic flashed in his eyes, but his ego quickly swallowed it. He sneered, stepping closer. There is no liability. You're bluffing to save your pathetic job. Get out of my boardroom before I have you arrested for trespassing. He grabbed her arm. It was a mistake. Sloane looked down at Marcus's hand gripping her sleeve. She didn't pull away. She just stared at his fingers until the silence became so heavy that Marcus, uncomfortable, released her. I want it in writing, Sloane demanded quietly. Marcus glared. Excuse me. If you are firing me and banning me from the premises, I want official documentation. Right now, Sloane insisted. Send an email to HR terminating my contract immediately for insubordination. Put your name on it. Marcus laughed, a cruel, echoing sound. You want proof of your own failure gladly. He pulled out his phone, his thumbs flying across the screen. You people are all the same. You think threatening a lawsuit will get you a quick settlement. I'll CC the regional director. I will make sure your name is blacklisted across the entire East Coast. Sloane reached into her canvas bag. She pulled out a plain white business card with a single email address, printed on it, and handed it to him. Copy this address on the email as well. It's my agency representative. Marcus snatched the card without looking closely at the domain name. He typed it in, hit send, and shoved his phone back into his pocket. Done. You are officially terminated. Now get out. Sloane felt her phone vibrate. She pulled it out and opened the email. There it was. Marcus Vance's official signature, firing her from a job she didn't actually hold, sent directly to her private executive inbox at the parent company. Thank you, Sloane whispered. She forwarded the email to her legal team with one word: proceed. Marcus pointed at the door. Security is on the way. I'd run if I were you. The heavy glass doors swung open again, but it wasn't the parent company executives. Two large security guards in gray uniforms stepped into the boardroom, their expressions tight. "Mr. Vance," the lead guard asked, glancing at Sloan, "is there a problem?" "This woman is trespassing," Marcus commanded, adjusting his tie, as if she were nothing but a bad smell in the room. "She is a fired temp who is currently harassing senior staff. Escort her out of the building. Do not let her stop at her desk. Throw her bag on the street." The guards moved toward Sloan. Ben, the junior assistant, suddenly stepped forward, dropping his stack of papers. "Wait. She didn't do anything wrong. She just warned him about a flaw in the presentation." Marcus turned his venom on Ben. "Pack your desk, Benjamin. You're fired too." Ben went pale, but he didn't step back. He stood next to Sloan, swallowing hard. Sloan looked at Ben, a faint trace of a smile touching her lips, for the first time that day. Loyalty, when it cost you everything that was rare. "Ma'am, you need to come with us," the guard ordered, reaching for Sloan's shoulder. Sloan did not fight them. She didn't raise her voice. She simply checked the cheap digital watch on her wrist. 5 seconds, she murmured. "What?" Marcus snapped. 4. Sloan counted. The guards exchanged a confused look. They reached for her bag. 3, 2, 1. A massive electronic clang echoed through the floor. The emergency lockdown lights above the boardroom doors flashed from green to solid red. The magnetic locks on every exit sealed shut simultaneously. The security guards froze their radios, bursting into a frenzy of static. "What the hell is going on?" Marcus yelled, storming toward the glass doors and pushing against them. They didn't budge. "Did you trigger a fire alarm?" The lead security guard pressed his earpiece. "Sir, the system just initiated a level 9 override. The entire executive floor is on lockdown. We don't have authorization to open the doors." "Override it," Marcus shouted, his perfect image finally cracking into genuine panic. The parent company VIPs were due any minute. If they arrived to a locked floor and alarms, his career was finished. "Only the primary shareholder can initiate a level 9, the guard replied, his voice shaking. "We don't have the codes." Sloan stepped forward, walking slowly past the bewildered executives. She stopped at the biometric scanner mounted on the wall next to the door. Reaching into her scuffed canvas bag, she pulled out a solid black titanium keycard. It had no logo, no name, only a gold chip embedded in the center. She tapped it against the scanner. The screen instantly flashed green. "Authorization accepted. Welcome, CEO." The heavy glass doors unsealed with a soft hiss. The room stopped breathing. The guards took 2 rapid steps backward. Ben's jaw dropped. Marcus stared at the black card in Sloan's hand, all the blood draining from his face. "You..." Marcus stammered, his eyes darting from her muddy boots to the titanium card. "Where did you get that? That's corporate theft." Sloan didn't answer him. She looked past his shoulder, out through the glass walls toward the main elevator bank. "Right on time," she noted. The private VIP elevator pinged. The door slid open, and 5 men and women in immaculate, tailored suits stepped onto the floor. They were the executive board of the parent company. Marcus instantly shifted into survival mode. He shoved past Sloan, nearly knocking her over, and practically sprinted toward the elevator bank. He pasted on his brightest, most obsequious smile. "Welcome, welcome to Apex Solutions," Marcus announced loudly, extending both hands toward the lead executive, a stern older man named Richard. "I apologize for the minor security glitch. We had a disgruntled temp trying to cause a scene, but we have the situation completely under control. I am Marcus Vance, your new Vice President of Operations." Richard did not take Marcus's hand. In fact, he didn't even look at Marcus. The entire delegation walked straight past the panicked director of operations. They moved in perfect unison toward the boardroom, stopping dead in front of the woman in the frayed gray sweater. Richard, the terrifyingly strict chairman of the board, bowed his head slightly. "Good morning, Miss Sloan," Richard greeted respectfully. "I trust the ground-level audit was illuminating." "It was extremely illuminating, Richard," Sloan replied, her voice no longer quiet, but carrying the heavy, unshakable weight of absolute authority. She tossed her cheap hair clip onto the mahogany table. Marcus staggered backward until his back hit the glass wall. His lungs forgot how to pull in air. He looked at Richard, then at the woman he had just ordered to scrub a carpet. Ms. Sloane. Marcus choked out, his voice cracking. But the new CEO isn't supposed to arrive until noon, and her name is S. Sterling. Sloane Sterling, she corrected, coldly turning to face him. I prefer to arrive early. It lets me see how my management treats the people at the bottom. And you, Marcus, have failed in spectacular fashion. The climax of Marcus's nightmare had only just begun. Sloane walked to the head of the table, taking the leather chair Marcus had reserved for himself. She opened her canvas bag and pulled out a pristine leather-bound legal folder, placing it next to the coffee stain on the carpet. Let's review the facts, Mr. Vance, Sloane declared. 10 minutes ago, you officially fired me in writing, proving you abuse your authority to terminate employees without cause, a clear violation of our corporate ethics policy. Marcus's knees began to shake. Ms. Sterling, please, it was a misunderstanding. You were dressed like someone who didn't matter. Sloane interrupted, her eyes freezing him in place. That brings me to your presentation, Project Phoenix. She tapped her phone. The large projector screen shifted from the title slide to the deep financial data on slide 4. You claimed in front of witnesses and a live security feed that you designed this strategy alone. Sloane continued, which is fascinating, because I drafted Project Phoenix as a honeypot. The financial projections in this document contain a deliberate $4 million embezzlement trap. Anyone who signs their name to this strategy is legally claiming responsibility for fraudulent numbers. Marcus gasped, his hands flying to his mouth. He had stolen the file without verifying the math. You didn't just steal my work, Marcus. Sloane leaned forward, her voice a lethal whisper. You just confessed to corporate fraud in a room full of witnesses. The gravity of his mistake finally crushed him. The arrogance evaporated, replaced by raw, unadulterated terror. Marcus's legs gave out. He collapsed onto the floor, his $2,000 suit soaking up the coffee stain he had ordered her to clean. Please, Marcus begged, tears welling in his eyes as he fell to his knees. Please, Ms. Sterling, I'll resign. I'll walk away right now. Don't press charges. I have a family. I'll do anything. Sloane looked down at him, feeling absolutely zero pity. You should have scrubbed the carpet yourself. Security, Sloane called out without breaking eye contact with the weeping man on the floor. The 2 guards who had been standing frozen in shock snapped to attention. Yes, ma'am. Escort Mr. Vance to his office. He has exactly 5 minutes to collect his personal items before you escort him out of the building. Confiscate his electronics. Legal will be in touch with him by the end of the day. Marcus tried to speak, but the guards were already hauling him to his feet by his armpits. They dragged him out of the boardroom, his expensive leather shoes scraping pathetically across the pristine floor. The room was silent again. The local executives were terrified, staring at their notebooks, praying they weren't next on the chopping block. Sloane turned her attention to the young man still standing awkwardly near the door. Ben, she called out. Ben jumped as if he'd been shocked. Yes, Mrs. Sterling. You were fired a few minutes ago, Sloane noted calmly. She picked up Marcus's discarded vice president nameplate and tossed it into the trash can. Consider yourself rehired. As of right now, you are the interim director of operations. We will start training you tomorrow. Your first task is to get someone to clean that rug properly. Ben's eyes widened in disbelief. I won't let you down, ma'am. I know you won't, Sloane replied, finally pulling out a laptop from her bag. She looked at the board members waiting patiently for her instruction. She was tired, her sweater was stained, and her boots were dirty. But as she sat at the head of this table, nobody saw a temp anymore. They only saw the person who owned the building. Now, Sloane said, opening her files, let's get to work. True power isn't about the suit you wear or the car you drive. It's about the character you show when you think no one important is watching. Marcus lost everything because he judged a book by its cover, while a simple act of courage changed Ben's entire life. How would you have reacted if you saw someone being treated like Sloane in your office? Let us know in the comments below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this satisfying twist, and subscribe for more stories where karma always collects its debts.